Your life at every level of surviving the Black Death. Moment 1. The bundle. You begin with cloth, not corpses. The bundle arrives damp from travel, tied with cord darkened by old rain and dock filth. Your master tells you not to waste good wool just because it smells wrong, so you lean over it with a knife and cut the knots while the shop is still cold, while your fingers still ache from the morning, while the street outside sounds normal enough to lie to yourself. When you shake the cloth open, dust rises and catches at the back of your throat. You cough into your sleeve and pretend not to. One of the porters laughs and says, "Half the city smells like bilge water now." That helps. Jokes always help in the first stage of a thing. You notice a small bite on your wrist before noon. Angry red. It stings when sweat gets in it. You call it wool rash. Wool rash means work. Work means bread. That night you bring home a narrow strip trimmed from the bundle because your wife has been turning your son's tunic inside out to hide the wear at the elbows. She holds the cloth between two fingers and asks why it smells like another house. You answer too quickly. Salt air, you say. Ship air. Nothing. Your son rubs his cheek against it and laughs because it is soft. You tell yourself fabric cannot carry death. You tell yourself fear always wants an object. You tell yourself a city like this cannot stop for one bad smell in one bundle. Before sleep, you scratch your wrist until it shines. Moment 2. The first names. 3 days later, the baker's wife is dead before the bread from yesterday has gone hard. The bells ring twice in 1 hour, then again before evening. Not the full peal, shorter, more practical. That is what unsettles you. Death should sound solemn. Instead, it starts to sound efficient. Your master keeps the shutters open. He says markets do not survive panic. He says men who close first starve first. So you stand in the doorway and take coins from hands that pull back too fast. A woman spits into her scarf before touching the counter. A man asks whether cloth from the port is safe. Your master answers before you can. Safe enough. At supper, your wife asks why the priest sent for you. Because you write clearly, you say. That part is true. The priest needs names copied into a parish ledger because 2 other clerks have stopped coming. One is ill. One has disappeared to relatives in the hills. You are proud for a second when he chooses you. It feels like being trusted. Then you see the page. Name, street, condition of house, number remaining. Your mouth dries when you read the columns. You reread them anyway, as if reading them twice makes them less direct. You tell yourself it is record-keeping, not death work. Ink, not blood. A page, not a grave. Your wife tears the loaf instead of handing it to you whole. It is a small thing. You notice it immediately. She notices that you notice. You wash your hands in vinegar that night until the skin around your knuckles burns white. Then you sleep beside her anyway, because sleeping apart would make the danger real, and you are not ready for a real thing yet. Moment 3. The ledger. The first time a neighbor refuses your greeting, you feel anger before fear. You are carrying the parish ledger under your arm. That is all. But now people know what doors you enter. They know why you knock. They know why priests speak to you in the street without smiling. The baker leaves your loaf on the sill instead of placing it in your hand. Boys who used to chase each other through the square stop when you pass. One of them whispers plague clerk. Not loudly. Loudness would still be childish. This is quieter than that. At the shop, your master does not look at you when he says there is no more work for now. Trade has thinned. Customers ask too many questions. He presses 2 small coins into your palm and closes your fingers around them as if returning something shameful. You walk home with the coins sweating in your fist. Your wife opens the door, sees your face, and changes her tone before she changes her words. Your son is watching from the stool by the hearth. Children always see the shape of a house before adults admit it. "Can you stop going there?" she asks. You hate the question because it is sensible. You tell her the parish pays in grain now. You tell her useful men are safer than idle ones. You tell her order still exists. All 3 lies feel reasonable when you speak them. That evening, the priest adds another task. There are more dead than hands. Some houses need help moving bodies before morning heat swells them further. He does not order you. He simply leaves room for you to call yourself decent. You say yes because refusing would sound like cowardice. You say yes because you need the grain. You say yes because a man can survive almost anything except the look in his own child's eyes when he comes home empty-handed. When you take your boots off that night, you leave them by the door instead of under the bed. Moment 4. The house. This is the part where history leaves the street and enters your house. The bodies are heavier than they look. That is what surprises you. Not the smell, though the smell is worse than rumor. Sweet and rotting at once, clinging to the wool wrapped over your mouth, sliding down the back of your throat until even water tastes touched by it. Not the flies. Not the priest hurrying prayers because there are 3 more homes before dusk. It is the weight. A dead woman is not only herself anymore. She is wet linen, stiff limbs, trapped heat, the pull on your shoulders when the stair turns narrow. By the 3rd house, the skin at the base of your thumbs has split open from the handles of the beer. You stare at the little red crescents and think, stupidly, these will hurt when I wash. When you reach home, your wife is sitting upright on the bed without moving. That frightens you more than if she were crying. Her lips are dry. There is a swelling at the side of her neck, deep and dark under the skin. Your son is asleep in daylight, face flushed, breath too quick. You do not touch the swelling at first. You tell yourself it could be a fever from bad meat, from bad water, from fear. Anything that still belongs to ordinary life. Then you touch it. It is hot and tight, and your fingertips come away trembling. You boil vinegar. You crush herbs. You fold cloths. You do all the useless things with great concentration because doing them slowly would feel like surrender. Your wife watches you with a look that is already halfway out of the world. Do not let them take him with strangers, she says. You answer, they won't. That is the worst lie because you mean it when you say it. Moment 5. The threshold. By the next morning, your left armpit hurts when you lower your arm. You keep it hidden for an hour, then 2, then all day. There is comfort in postponement, not safety, just comfort. You move more carefully. You refuse to wince. You fetch water. You wet your son's lips. You sit your wife higher against the wall when she starts to slide. Every small act feels faithful. Every small act also keeps you in the room longer. Outside, the street has gone thin. No bargaining. No shouting from windows. Just cartwheels now and then. And once the flat knock of wood against wood from a shutter being barred. Your son wakes long enough to ask why the bells have stopped. You listen, realize they have, and cannot answer. At dusk you make the decision that ruins the shape of what remains. You leave, not to flee. That is what you tell yourself. Only to fetch a physician or a barber or broth or anyone still functioning as if the city is intact. Running would make you a coward. This is not running. This is provision. This is duty. You say these words inside your head while your hand shakes on the latch. In the street, every door looks guilty. You knock at 2 houses and hear crying in one, nothing in the other. At the convent gate, a lay brother tells you they are full before you finish speaking. He does not meet your eyes. He has learned how not to collect faces. When you return, the room is quiet in a way you will never stop hearing. Your wife is dead against the wall where you left her propped. Your son is still alive, but only barely, his breath opening and closing like something caught under a floorboard. You sit down beside him, because standing would mean choosing again. Historical collapse. The men who come for the bodies are not cruel. That is almost worse. They wrap cloth over their mouths. They move quickly. One asks for names, then stops asking when he sees you hesitate over your own child's. There are too many now. Names slow things down. Your son dies before dawn with your finger in his fist. By noon, all 3 of you should be gone, but fever delays your body without granting you mercy. You wake and sleep on the floorboards while flies gather at the window and heat thickens the room. At some point, hands drag you into the yard because the living still have a different use than the dead. A priest marks your forehead. Someone says, "This one may yet keep breathing." Your wife and son leave on a cart with 6 others. No procession, no neighbors, no measured prayers. Just wheels, rope, canvas, and the city finally admitting what it has become. Not a place that buries its dead, but a place that removes them. That is the clean part. The formal part. The part history could count if history still cared to count correctly. Existential epilogue. You survive into a thinner version of the city. Months later, bread is sold again. Shutters reopen. People speak in lowered voices, as if volume itself might call the sickness back. New apprentices stand in old doorways. Priests use fresh pages. Trade returns because trade always returns before trust does. You do not bring cloth home anymore. When someone hands you a coin, you want to wash your fingers. When a child laughs in a room, your chest tightens before your mind can catch up. You sleep with the window open even in cold weather because closed air feels occupied. Sometimes you wake with your arm pinned away from your body, protecting the place where the swelling rose and then receded, as if survival were only a temporary misunderstanding your flesh might still correct. People call you fortunate. You nod because arguing would take too long. At supper, when you eat alone, you still tear the loaf into 3 pieces before remembering there is no one left to hand them to. That is how the punishment continues. Not in the pit, not in the bells. Not in the fever, in the ordinary motions that remain after history is done with your house.